Now we're joined by Eliot-Shorr Parks. Eliot-Shorr Parks, sponsored by Colonial Hyundai. Shop online 24/7 at colonialhyundai.com. Colonial Hyundai, the fast, easier, better way to buy a Hyundai. Eliot joins us now. What's going on, Eliot? Thanks for hopping on.
What up? How you guys doing this morning?
Pretty good, Eliot. Obviously, a big week for the Eagles. Big win on Sunday. And first off, what did you make of that win, and what did you make of that defensive performance? That was a hell of an effort from them against the Bills.
Yeah, I think if you're talking about just the defense, it was an outstanding performance. Like, not many teams go into Buffalo, regardless of the time of the year, and hold Josh Allen and that Bills offense to what they did. And I thought was especially impressive was the run defense. The Bills were the best running offense in the NFL heading into the game. We have seen this Eagles run defense be pretty up and down. Like, the secondary has been pretty solid. The linebackers have been pretty solid. But that front four has not been consistent against the run. So I thought what they did against the Bills, rushing attack was really impressive. And really just the way they contained Josh Allen. I know he missed that last pass, but I think it's underrated that Jalen Phillips and Jalen Carter collapsed that pocket, forcing him to move just a little bit, messes with his mechanics on the throw, and so he misses it. So strictly from a defensive perspective, I thought it was a good one. I did leave the game feeling pretty discouraged about the offense, but overall, definitely a quality win.
Eliot, I know you had your show with Jordan Mailata and Spike last night at Chickies, and I listened to parts of it, but I wanted to get your overall takeaways from chatting with Jordan. And I know that this likely isn't going to be a decision that's made by the players, but in terms of like resting or playing starters on Sunday against the Commanders, could you get a feel on if Jordan Mailata was leaning one way or the other? Because he's a player who, like, even just a few weeks ago told us that his body was breaking down and he needed rest. It was when they had, they were coming off a short week and had an extra day rest, and he was saying that he, just did nothing. What was your takeaway from that?
So, well, first, my takeaway from being there last night, not just with Mailata, but then also Tanner McKee was the guest on the Players Lounge, is that they're playing the backups on Sunday. Like, I would be very surprised if we saw the starters play on Sunday. So I think that's the direction that they are headed. In terms of talking to Jordan last night, he says he wants to play, and I can respect that as a player. He will always want to play. Jalen Hurts said something similar after the game. But like you brought up the, Mailata kind of maybe seeming, a bit banged up all year. He's the only offensive lineman that has not gotten a break all season. He's played all game. He was there every day in training camp, taking every rep. And I think he does need some time off. I do. Yeah. So, I think he says he wants to play, but if I think you put, Jordan on a lie detector and then he got to decide truly, I think he would sit. And I think that's where a lot of the offensive linemen would probably fall on it.
You're listening to 94 WIP HD1 Philadelphia, broadcasting from the Tasty Cake Studios. And Eliot, as a follow-up to that, what would you do? Like, you're in the Eagles' position. The Rams lose last night. That narrows down the possible opponents if you're a 3 seed, either going to be San Francisco or the Rams. If you get that 2 seed, you could play the Packers. How would you manage it this week?
Leaving Buffalo on Sunday, I was pretty steadfast that I would play and try to get the 2 seed. I do think it is an advantage to avoid potentially going to Chicago in the second round. We have seen that this team really struggles in weather. You look at the Green Bay game, the Detroit game, this Buffalo game last week, and I'm talking about the offense, not the defense, obviously. But going to Chicago, I think is the toughest game they would play in the postseason. I think it'd be harder than facing the Rams here. I think it'd be harder than going to San Francisco. So I do think you want to try to avoid that, right? But since leaving Buffalo, think about it more, and then you watch the Rams last night. I do wonder if they would be better resting their guys on Sunday. Yes, you potentially get the Rams in the first round, but the Rams, they might be catching them at a good time right now. The Rams are faltering. They lost to Seattle. They lost last night. They've lost to Carolina. They're just not the team that they were for that stretch in the middle of the season. And plus, the Eagles beat the Rams all the time. So I do think San Francisco will beat Seattle. So I think it'll probably be the Rams if they are the 3 seed. So I would lean towards resting the starters.
I want to go back to your answer that you gave me on last night and what you took away from talking to the players and Jordan Mailata and Tanner. You sounded very certain that the backups would be playing on Sunday. What else did you hear, or what makes you jump to that conclusion?
I just think from talking to Tanner during the Players Lounge show, it just seems like he's preparing to play. Now, I will say he prepares to play every week. The takeaway I got from talking to Tanner is that the backups will be playing, but also just look at how this team has handled this in the past. Listen to what Nick Sirianni said yesterday when he was asked, that second time around about the benefits of the bye week, right? So just from being around the team, as long as I have, but also since this Nick Sirianni, Howie Roseman regime has been running it, they always value rest. And the one time they didn't value rest, it cost them A.J. Brown for the playoff game. So I feel pretty confident that we're going to see Tanner McKee out there on Sunday.
Yeah, now, Elliot, going back to the game on Sunday, and obviously we talked about defensive performance. The offensive performance, very different. They looked, I thought, really good in the first half. We're moving the ball well, scoring points. Second half, a struggle to score, even gain yards. I think 17 total yards, I believe, was the final number in the second half. Where are you with this offense right now, and how concerned are you about the issues?
So I rewatched the game yesterday, and I left it feeling better about Jalen Hurts specifically. I thought he played really, really well in the first half. I thought in the second half, the issues on offense were not his fault. I thought the pass protection wasn't good. The running game was not good in the second half, really for the whole game, which I'll talk about in a minute. But I thought Jalen played well. So I do enter the playoffs feeling like Jalen is playing probably the best he has all season. He is heading into the playoffs in a good version of himself. The reason I felt so discouraged about the Buffalo game was because going into it, it felt like they were taking steps in the right direction. I know they lost to the Chargers, but the offense moved the ball against the Chargers, and then they moved it against the Raiders, and then they moved it against Washington. And it just seemed like they were putting things together, specifically in the running game and the offensive line. And I thought against Buffalo, those both took a major step back. And what was so disappointing about the fact that it took a step back was Buffalo is not good against the run specifically. So I viewed this as an opportunity for this team to go to Buffalo against a good team, run the ball, have good pass protection, and really look like the version that could make a deep run in the playoffs. And I didn't think that's how the offense looked. Now, the good news is they didn't play their best game, and they still won. And I still think if you have a quarterback like Jalen is playing, you will go into the postseason with a chance to win. I still think they have a very good chance to go into the Super Bowl. But if you would have told me they were going to beat Buffalo, I would expect to feel way more confident about the team than I do coming out of it, just because I don't think the running game and the offensive line played up to their potential.
Yeah, Elliot, and I think when you look at Jalen, I agree. I thought he played really well in the first half. Second half, a little more difficult to kind of discern how he played. But how much do you think the struggles in the second half of this game and this year come from, the Eagles get a lead and they play a little more conservatively? How much stock do you put in that?
So it's interesting, right? This whole debate about being too conservative in the second half. Now, I know they were only up 13 points, but you bring it up on a full year, right? They're up big. I think it was against Tampa, right? And there was other games this year where they've been up big. And
Cowboys game, yeah.
The Cowboys game, right? Okay. So I agree, right? Their second half offense has been an issue. But I also do think if we just look at this logically, when you're up big, you want to run the ball and kill the clock. That's what you want to do when you are up a lot of points. That is what they did last year. So I do not think this is a shift in philosophy. I think this is an execution problem where they can't run the ball like they did last year. So you go into these second halves, and I think it was, on 4 of the 5 possessions, they ran it on the first 2 plays. Now, that's a bit skewed because one of them they were backed up on the 1-yard line. But regardless, they tried to lean on the run in the second half. And that's probably what you want to do. And honestly, it almost worked to perfection. The Bills didn't score until 5 minutes left in the game. So they almost, completely milked out that 13-0 win and got the job done. The issue is, and this is the main concern of mine going into the playoffs, they are just not the running game that they were. Forget last year. This might be the worst running team of the Sirianni era. They've always been able to run the ball, and they just cannot get it together this year. The Buffalo game, to me, not being able to run it was such a red flag. So when people say they get conservative, I don't think they're getting conservative. I think they're trying to manage the game correctly, but because they can't run, it doesn't work.
Yeah, I agree. I think the run game, we're going into week 18, and I think it is what it is at this point, but they do still find ways to win games. All right, lastly from me, Elliot, I have to ask you, James Seltzer, like, is he okay? Is he apparently I didn't hear him when I guess he was on the afternoon show, but like, is he owning this? Is he apologetic? Is he feeling okay?
Yeah. Well, look, the Go Birds pod has always been an accountability podcast,
yeah,
right?
Mm-hmm.
We do not shy away from it, and I think he's been honest. It was not his best moment. Now, I will say it was funny. I was at the tailgate, and I left probably 10 minutes before he did this. So I narrowly avoided having to do it myself. And let me tell you, after seeing the reaction to James, I am very happy I missed out because I can't imagine I would have done any better. Like, I'm way too pretty to jump through a table. There's no way I would have done that.
We can't do that. No.
Exactly. Yeah. No, that's not Elliot. That's not what I do. So like,
now the Pico would get too scuffed up.
Yeah, you mess up the attire.
Exactly. But James, look, it was not good. I think he would tell you that. Now, when I first watched the video, I actually came away being like, wow, he did it. Like, good for him. And then you actually slow it down and, that's my guy. I'll always stand up for him, but probably not something, probably he wants a redo, I would say, on that one. I laugh every single time I watch it, though. It brings me a ton of joy.
Oh, there's like a new detail that makes me laugh every time I watch it.
Yeah, and Elliot, I know you're a brand guy. Not good for the brand of the Go Birds pod here from James.
Oh, well, here's what I would say. All press is good press. And when anyone's talking about the pod for basically 24 straight hours, like, I'll take it. So good job for James on that one. There's certainly been a lot of moments where people have talked about me for a few days, about rear end of things. So I'll take it.
Yeah, well, maybe you're right. Eliot-Shorr Parks, Eagles reporter for Sportsradio 94 WIP, and co-host of the Go Birds podcast along with James Seltzer. Elliot, thanks for hopping on, man.